Okay, so this was posted just hours after the Hungarian election.
There's much work to be done as Hungary is coming back to the European path. But I think we should also look at the lessons learned inside the European Union. For example, I think moving to qualified majority voting in foreign policy is an important way to avoid systematic blockages as we've seen in the past. And we should use the momentum now really to move forward on that topic. There's much work.
So basically what she wants to say is that small nations in the European Union should just shut the fuck up and just do what the European Union tells them to. In other words, fuck national sovereignty. It's about size now. It's about might makes right. So let me see if I get this correctly. The European Union was extremely concerned with the corruption that is happening in Hungary, right? So the illiberal Viktor Orban had to be taken down because he is against democracy. He is against the will of the people. And his problem is corruption. And this accusation is coming from one of the most corrupt institutions in Europe, the European Union, which hasn't had a proper audit in more than a decade and a half. And usually people in power that start asking questions like, where is the money going? What are the European Union doing with our cash? Those people end up getting quiet very quickly. And the accusation of illiberalism, again, comes from a lady that never campaigned in my country, never told us about her platform. Very few people outside of Germany even knew who she was. Nobody voted for her. And she was basically set in a backroom deal in a conversation that none of us got to hear. And so, again, like, this is the institution that is shaming Hungary for being illiberal. Okay, no, that's fine. They were also shaming Hungary for having J.D. Vance come over there in order to support Viktor Orban, and they thought that that is beyond the pale and that is interfering with someone's democracy. Do you know what else is interfering with someone's democracy? When the European Union, for example, gave millions of dollars daily fines to Hungary, but they were still collecting the taxes from Hungary for the European Union. When you go and you make a statement that if the Hungarians don't vote correctly, the European Union has tools to solve the problem. Like, don't you think that's a little bit of election interference? Like, that doesn't that look like you're holding people hostage? When they cancel the Erebus scholarship. So, like, for those of you who don't know, in universities around Europe, if you get good grades and if you manage to get a recommendation from your teacher, you can apply for the Erebus program. And this is a program where you can basically like study abroad into any other European country. So you get to go to Germany, you get to see the city, you get to fuck their women, right? A lot of students genuinely want that. And so for no reason whatsoever, the European Union goes like, no, you can't do that in Hungary anymore. In other words, the message is like, vote for our candidate and you will be able to do it. When the European Union uses their intelligence apparatus in order to obtain phone calls that Viktor Orban had years ago and take sound bites and sound clips and post them to the public just a couple of days before the election. Isn't that interfering with the elections? Now, again, like, I'm not justifying Viktor Orban here. This is what people need to understand. I don't give a shit. You know, like, from my perspective, I'm a Romanian. I'm pretty sure that the new Hungarian government is going to maintain the same relationships with Romania as the previous one. But I'm just, like, noticing how the people that are more guilty of the things they're accusing others of doing happen to have the loudest microphone. And so you end up with the European Union that became as initially a trade agreement between Germany and France and was telling everyone that is trying to become an empire or that is trying to become a federal state, they would call them conspiracy theorists and they would discredit them, to where we are now that they are openly basically saying, yeah, you know what, if you're a small state in the European Union, like if you're something like Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary, Poland, we don't give a shit about what you want, like we don't really care about your opinions. We're going to use the current conflict with Russia in order to fearmonger. So for the next 100 years or so, or how long the European Union is going to remain, you guys are just going to be excluded. And so, like, if you vote incorrectly, if you, we're going to let you have democracy, of course, but, like, if you vote incorrectly, we're going to punish you. we're going to still take taxes from you, but we're going to cut all the perks that we have for nation states until you comply. You know, what's next? Maybe they want an army as well. You know, like maybe the next time they think that people vote incorrectly, they can send their army to bring peace upon the province. So this is what Ursula von der Leyen is actually talking about, right? Like, she basically wants to take away the right of veto from the member states. In other words, she wants even more power for the European Union than it already has. So now we have a union where censorship is aplenty, where taxation is excruciating for a lot of the member states, where control of your borders is almost non-existent. Like, if Germany wants to take immigrants, for example, it can do so, and then those immigrants can travel anywhere they want. Now it also wants to have even more powers to basically say, yeah, I mean, who fucking cares about what small nation states have to think? Like, they have to play by our rules. Now, the good thing about it is that what she actually says is still very unpopular amongst most member states. So, like, her decision is very unlikely to pass. You have this thing called the Group of Friends in the European Union, right? The QMV, which is roughly 9 to 12 countries, including Germany, France, Italy, Spain. And they actually do support this reform, right? And they want to use the Hungary election as a momentum. And Hungary, under the new TISA government, will almost certainly not be the blocker anymore, right? So, like, Hungary will basically be in favor of the momentum. However, other member states remain reluctant or opposed. So you have countries like Austria, Cyprus, Greece, Ireland, Malta, several others, probably even Romania itself, that are not going to appreciate, you know, the European Union basically passing a law saying that you guys don't matter anymore. And if we have, like, policies or decisions that negatively affect your people, we don't fucking care. You can't do anything about it. So the interesting thing is that she made the statement, right, less than 24 hours after the election result, which is a political signal, not a formal proposal. The analysts basically describe this policy as a narrow window or momentum, right? So, like, the European Union is viewing, finally, you know, everyone is talking about Hungary. Look what they did with Russia. And so we need to pass a new legislation to prevent other nations from doing this. But again, like, the whole thing is emotional and fear-mongering. Even if, like, now everyone in Europe was to agree, like, even if we had consensus about it, right, which is impossible, like, literally every single person would believe, yes, like, Europe is in danger because of Russia. Hungary was making the danger worse, right? And so we need a solution. Even if you had that consensus, the idea that the original strong nations, right, like Germany, France, and all the others, the QMV group, would be able to have power to decide everything they want with no consequence from the smaller states. Again, you pass that. If the European Union lasts for 300 years, that thing remains. And it's going to be applied in times of peace, in times of war, in times of plenty, and in times of little. And there is no logical reason to believe that a nation like Germany generally cares about the well-beings of the Greeks, or generally cares about the well-beings of Romanians. Like, no, Germany cares about the well-beings of its politicians. That's what modern nations care, the well-being of the people in power. And so, I hope that for the next 10 years or so, like, people have the common sense to not support this. Like, this is absolutely the worst thing ever. And honestly, you know, you look at what the European Union is becoming, like, they're looking at China and they're copying everything. Like, they're not afraid of China, or they're not afraid of the Soviet Union. They're looking at these systems and they're like, okay, what can we copy from them? And Ursula von der Leyen is the perfect example, you know, like, when Stalin died, did people vote for the next guy? No, like, it was appointed. And the Soviet Union was allegedly, right, like, democratic. It had the Duma. And it had people that went there and voted. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. But you didn't get to vote for the supreme guy, right? And it's the same thing. And the question is, like, why does it have to be this way? This is another thing. Like, when you criticize European Union, people are acting like you're worshipping Satan or something. It's like, why can't we have this conversation? Why can't the leader of the European Union be subjected to a popular vote? Why can't we have, like, people from Germany, people from France campaigning, Like they do in the United States, for example, right? Like in the United States, you have like Donald Trump campaigning in Minnesota, campaigning in Illinois, campaigning in Michigan, right? And he goes and presents his platform to the public, and the public votes for him. Why can't we have that in Europe? Why is it that it must be the way it is? Can it not be changed? Let me know what you guys think, though. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.